All right, so now we first covered the two forms. Now we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the actual policy. I do recommend getting on our website and downloading the policy and saving it to your computer so you can reference it. This is just a high-level overview of the policy. I'm not going in depth in everything that would need to be covered because we would be here all night. So I recommend going to our website and reviewing the policy when you have free time. Welcome and thank you for attending the session. This training will walk you through the labor standards requirements under the CDBG program. I'll cover prevailing wage principles, your administrative role, and key compliance issues. The objective of today's training are to help you understand prevailing wage principles, identify your duties across the construction timeline, understand the payroll reviews, and determine applicability of Davis-Bacon requirements. This is an overview of the topics we'll cover: wage provisions, administrative duties, payroll reviews, Davis-Bacon applicability, common violations, record keeping. Think of this as your roadmap to the presentation. Prevailing wage is a rate paid to worker for particular types of work on a federally funded construction job site. The higher of the two, the state or the federal wage applies, always apply the more stringent law. The key to the federal laws include the Davis-Bacon Act that covers construction contracts involving laborers over $2,000, the Contract Work Hour and Safety Standards Act, the Copeland Anti-Kickback Act, the Fair Labor Standards Act, and the Section 3 of Housing and Urban Development Act of 1967. Missouri state laws that apply are Prevailing Wage Law and House Bill 1792, construction contracts involving laborers above $75,000, and no contract value should be split up to avoid paying prevailing wage, whether that be federal or state, and the Construction Safety Act. You should be aware of the 4 federal construction types: building, residential, heavy, and highway. This affects which wage decision that applies to that construction site. Residential is most common in DR and MIT projects. In Missouri, similar classifications exist. Make sure you correctly classify their work as building or heavy or highway. Use the curb line as your guide for the state wage. Some examples of building wage order classifications are building structures, including modifications, additions, or repairs, or both, to be used for shelter, protection, comfort, convenience, entertainment, or recreation, or for the safety of people or equipment. Examples of heavy and highway construction include work in connection with roads, streets, parkways, alleys, and highways, including but not limited to grading, paving, curbing, signs, fences, guardrails, bridges, lighting, retaining walls, and landscaping, and sidewalk with any connection, and also any connection with telephone, electrical, water, oil, gas, or fuel lines, or any other utility or communication lines from the curb. Apply the 80-20 rule when work types are present. If a work component accounts for more than 20% of the contract, it receives its own wage classification. Less than that, it's incidental. If the work accounts for at least 20% and is significant, it should have its own wage category. If the work accounts for less than 20%, it's incidental and can be considered in the wage decision category of the main construction activity. The effective date of the wage decision of sealed bid work: not less than 10 days prior to the bid opening. That's why CDBG needs your 10-day wage determination request before the bid advertisement and 10 days wage verification before the bid opening. Those are 2 important milestones in the bidding process. If the contract is awarded within 90 days after the bid opening date, the wage locking date is the bid opening date. If the contract cannot be awarded within 90 days, then an extension request plus justification should be submitted to CDBG. If a needed work classification isn't on the wage decision, submit the Department of Labor Form SF-1444 to CDBG early. It can take up to 6 weeks, so make sure you plan ahead. I will say on that, we do have a new contact, but they sometimes tend to change from time to time. And the person that does initiate these is going a little bit faster, but I'm not going to promise that we're going to keep getting that same person who responds to the request. Grant administrators must coordinate documents and act as the connection to CDBG and review payrolls. This slide summarizes your core responsibilities in labor compliance. Before the bid, ensure the labor standards language is in the bid packet. Request wage determinations 10 days before the bid advertisement and verification 10 days before the bid opening. Prepare for the contract award within 90 days of the bid opening, then request a DeVar check from CDBG. At the pre-construction, you should go over potential payroll issues. Construction should begin within 90 days of contract award. Discuss OSHA certification, Section 3, and start of construction notification. During construction, review payrolls, conduct on-site interviews, and verify postings. Photograph the bulletin boards or the job site board for documentation. Use the employee interviews to verify wage compliance. Payrolls include a payroll form and a statement of compliance. Contractor forms are acceptable if all federal fields are present. Confirm all required field information is included. We strongly recommend using the new payroll form for all projects, as the state form does not currently include all fields found in the new federal form. The following documents are needed for a payroll review. Besides the payroll and statement of compliance, supporting documentation such as the fringe benefit records and deduction forms are essential. You must verify pay rates match the wage decisions. Also, collect any supporting documents for fringe benefits, deductions, or apprenticeships. Send these with reviewed payrolls to CDBG. You will also need to provide the weekly Section 3 labor hour reporting, certified payroll review sheet, and certified payroll review checklist. Electronic signatures are allowed with CDBG approval. The signature must be time-stamped and PIN verified. Send sample screenshot and signer to your CDBG compliance specialist. Overtime. Must follow the stricter of the two rules. Missouri law applies it's 1.5 or 2 times depending on the amount of hours or the day or holidays. Federal rule apply when they're more stringent. Use both to calculate correct pay and use the most restrictive rate. Fringe benefits are part of prevailing wage. They must be disclosed as regular contributions to recognized plans in writing, and that includes health care, insurance, and pension. And there are others. For any other deductions not classified as a fringe benefit, get the signed authorization, include the fringe benefit disclosure. Examples of this could be like tools, a vehicle expense, child support with a court order. Missouri does require a 1-to-1 apprentice ratio. Contractors must provide DOL apprenticeship certification and program standards. And it can also be from a state apprenticeship program also. On this slide, you will see samples of the required documents for apprentice. This documentation is important for confirming the pay rate and fringe eligibility. Restitution occurs when wages are underpaid. Submit a correction packet with the revised payrolls, statements, calculations, and payment proof. This is a key enforcement area. Even if no work occurred that week, a payroll must be submitted with a no work clearly indicated. This ensures weekly compliance tracking is maintained. This recap summarizes the key milestones: bid prep, wage requests, pre-construction, payroll review, site visits, and ongoing documentation. Follow these steps to ensure compliance. Davis-Bacon applies to demolition only and asbestos paint removal from 8 or more residential structures and for all commercial. For equipment installs, Davis-Bacon applies if the install cost is greater than 12% of the total. Don't split up contracts to avoid Davis-Bacon. Davis-Bacon applies to the project site, excludes long-established supplier facilities. Truck drivers are covered only under particular site-related conditions. Understand these exceptions. Davis-Bacon applies for truck drivers for time spent on the worksite, loading and unloading material on the worksite, and transporting supplies between the facility or the worksite where a significant portion of the work is constructed and the physical place called for in the contract will remain. Davis-Bacon does not apply for drivers working off the site of the work and spending time on the work site, for example, a few minutes to merely pick up or drop off supplies. 1099 workers must be paid prevailing wages and listed on the payroll like employees. Prime contractors and subcontractors ensure tax compliance. IRS handles the tax issues, not DBA. And in-kind contributions by subrecipients, labor, and equipment are exempt from Davis-Bacon. Do not misclassify to avoid compliance. If the violation exceeds 1,000 or is willful, report it to CDBG for HUD to take action. If the violation involves federal overtime, liquidated damages of $10 for each day per employee who was eligible but not paid the overtime must be assessed for payment to the government. Or if funding is still available, consider withholding the liquidated damage amount from the pending pay applications. We should also notify the Missouri Department of Labor too. Keep project records. No need to send hard copies to CDBG. Organize the file consistently and maintain closeout readiness. This appendix gives an example of payroll authorization letter might look like. Refer to this when you're compiling your compliance documentation. This is used when someone else is signing the payroll besides an official officer.